Hello, hola, y bienvenidos. My name is Mari. We are at Rowan College at Burlington County in Mount Holly. We are in the Culinary Arts Department, where today we are celebrating the Hispanic Heritage Month with some delicious recipes. Today I have for you some beef empanadas and flan. All right, so we're gonna start off with the flan today. For you, I have some cream cheese, which I have 8 ounces of. We have 5 eggs. We have our evaporated milk and condensed milk and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And we have our cup of sugar. Now we're gonna start off with the sugar and we're gonna caramelize it. I'm gonna pour it in here. Now you don't want it too high or too low. You do want a medium flame, and you don't wanna walk away because it will burn on you. And if that's the case, then your flan will be ruined, and then you'll have to start over. A lot of people with the sugar, they add water to help it just liquefy it a little bit faster. I don't like it because at the finished product, it's way too runny. So I love just pure sugar. Just give me all the sugar. I promise you will not be disappointed. A quick story about this recipe. I use cream cheese because my grandma and my abuelita, she taught me how to make it. My mom then added her little flavor and changed the flavor from vanilla to coconut. And at times she would actually grate some fresh coconut and sprinkle it inside. So you can do this any way you like flavor-wise. So there's coconut, vanilla, there's even mango flan out there. You can also, when it's done, you can have some fresh fruit on top. This is something that you will enjoy to make because it's super easy, and as well as your family or friends as well. For any holiday, any birthday, you name it, this goes with all the meals. I was once working a party, it was like 100 people, and they asked me to make flan, and I made it, and I forgot. What's really important about the flan is that it has to be moist, and I forgot to put it in a water bath, which is super, super important. And needless to say, we did not have flan at the party. So when I show you how to put this in the oven, do not forget the water bath. All right, this is starting to melt and get a nice brown color. And I keep stirring it because I don't want it to stick. Because as you know, sugar gets very sticky when it melts. You'll get some really tough spots. And you want it all to be smooth and no lumps whatsoever. So I started baking at a really, really young age. I was 5. I remember it was a cake, it was a box cake. It was strawberry, and we bought the strawberry frosting to match. And growing up, we never had measuring cups. We always used like a mug, a coffee mug. We used regular like feeding spoons. So my cakes always came out good, but something was always a little off because I never had like the right measurements. But I was 5. I remember it was my mom that taught me how to measure everything out. And today I literally own every single color of measuring spoons and cups and plates, all of it. I grew up upstate New York, Amsterdam. My parents met there. My mother is Puerto Rican, my father's Colombian, so my passion for Latin food is intense. I love spicy food, I love color, I love flavor, I love sugar. That's why I, decided to make this my career. It's a passion because when you have great food, great conversations happen and you make the best memories. That's definitely why I got into cooking and baking. Baking is my passion though. So this flan is, I think the secret ingredient is definitely love. When you cook, you should definitely You should feel it. You should feel all the ingredients and envision the end result, and it's definitely gonna come out. So this is boiling. I'm gonna lower the temp a little. There's just a little bit of lumps left in there. I'm gonna keep stirring so that it can melt. Almost there. So with this flan, like I said, it is a cream cheese one. A lot of people don't do the cream cheese. They just omit the cream cheese, which is fine as well. It comes out just as delicious, but I love the creaminess that the cream cheese brings to the flan. I think it's a little bit more sturdier as well. And if you add those fruit on top or like a glaze, I mean, it already has the caramel, but if you add the fruit to it, I just think it tastes 10 times better. So this is all set. This is all melted, as you see. You do not want to let it sit because it's just gonna harden up. So we have our pan here. You can use any pan you like. It just needs to have some sides, like tall sides, because once this flan, you're gonna flip it. I'm gonna put this back here. Once you flip it, when it's done, all that caramel is gonna go all the way around. That's the best part. So I'm going to cover the bottom of this pan. Make sure you get that all the way around. And then after this, we are going to blend all the ingredients and make our flan. And just a little tip, this gets super hot with the sugar, so watch your fingertips. Okay, so we have, again, our cream cheese, our eggs, our 2 milks, and some vanilla. We are gonna throw it in the blender. You can do this in a bowl with a hand mixer. You just have to be careful because of the cream cheese. You definitely want it as smooth as possible. If you are gonna do it by hand, I do recommend straining it afterwards so you don't have any lumps of the cream cheese. That's why I recommend the blender. So I'm going to add the cream cheese first. I'm going to add the milk. So this again is the evaporated milk and the sweetened condensed milk with the 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Again, you can flavor this with coconut extract as well. You don't have to do the vanilla extract, but we're going simple today with vanilla because usually that's what people have at home. They don't really have a coconut extract at home. And then we're gonna add the 5 eggs. Woo. Don't get splashed while doing that. We're gonna cover this up. I got my towel handy. And now you're gonna turn this on and it's just gonna blend until it's smooth. So I would do it a couple times just to make sure, because of that cream cheese, again, you don't want any lumps. That looks pretty smooth. I'm gonna do it one more time just to make sure. And we're gonna pour this in right on top of the caramel. I don't know if you can hear that, but that caramel is cracking. This is perfect. I'm gonna set this aside and I'm gonna get the water bath ready. So for the water bath, you do want something where the water's not gonna spill over. We are gonna take the pan and put it right in the center and just make sure that the water is a little bit more than a 1/2 inch of water to cover. So once you have the bath water ready, remember that it might dry out in the oven, so keep an eye on it. We're gonna bake this for an hour. Make sure there's at least a half an inch of water in there. Check it at 30 to 35 minutes just to see how it's going. What we're looking for is a nice brown crust on top, and you're just gonna touch the center of it. Make sure it's a little jiggly, not too much, but it's nice and firm. So we're gonna put this in the oven at 350, and again, we're gonna bake it for an hour. So once your oven goes off after that 1 hour, you have a nice, firm, still jiggly center with your flan. You are going to let it sit out for a couple hours so it's nice and cool, and then you're gonna bring it over to the fridge. You can leave it in there for 2 to 4 hours. I highly recommend leaving it overnight, and then you flip it over. So I'm gonna walk over and pull it out of the fridge. So the way the flan works is the best part you pour in first, right? And then the second best part is that once you flip it, it's on top. So once that comes out the oven, again, you're gonna let it cool, put it in the fridge overnight, you're gonna flip it, and then we're gonna have the reveal. I'm gonna go this way so we get a good shot of it. Do you hear all that sugar? Look how beautiful. It is gorgeous. Again, you can top this with some fresh fruit if you'd like, some whipped cream. Since this is a vanilla flan, you can do a coconut whipped cream, which sounds really, really mouth-watering right now. I think that would go really well with this. I'm super happy how this came out. The color of the sugar is beautiful. And there we have it. We have our flan de queso, our cream cheese flan. So once we plate our flan, you can do, again, any type of topping if you want, or just leave it plain. I recommend a coconut whipped cream. So we're just gonna cut it just like a regular piece of cake. Oh, if you can feel that firmness, this is perfect. You can go small on the piece, you can go large. I'm gonna do my best to take it out with the knife. Do you see that? That looks awesome. How beautiful does that look? So once you plate it, you can go ahead and grab, like I said, the best part, which is all this sugar, and we can drizzle it right on top. Oh, it's so pretty. And then what I'm gonna do is take a bite for you guys to let you know how it tastes. I promise you, cream cheese flan de queso, is the way to go. You can omit it, but I'm telling you, this is the recipe that all your family and friends are gonna talk about. I hope you guys enjoy. Hi, hello, and welcome. We are at Rowan College at Burlington County. We're in the Culinary Arts Center here in Mount Holly. I am Madi, a student here, and we are going to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month by showing you the simple, easy, delicious recipe. They are empanadas. We're gonna make a beef filling, and I'm gonna take you step by step with all the ingredients. I know that you're gonna love it. So we're gonna start off with browning our beef. Now you can fill empanadas with anything you'd like. I prefer the beef because it holds so much flavor. You could also do a shredded chicken, which is really delicious, with some small diced potatoes as well. Now we're going to brown this. Now some might argue with me, not in a fighting way, but some might say, brown your beef and then add the seasoning. I grew up with my grandmother, my abuelita. You add all the seasoning together so that it really gets in there, and when you take a bite of the empanada, you are tasting everything at once, but you can tell what each ingredient is. So we're gonna put this on medium heat, and while this does start to cook, before I add all the ingredients, I'm gonna tell you what they are. So we have some little diced potatoes, we have some garlic powder, we have adobo, we have onion powder, we have salt, of course, a little bit of pepper, ground pepper, and we have sofrito. Now, this one is jarred. You can find it at your local store if they have it, or you can make your own, which is super, super simple to make. It is onions, cilantro, garlic, and green or red pepper. Now, all you have to do is blend that up, and you can use an ice tray to freeze it, and you add it to your soups, you add it to your meats, you add it to your beans. It gives it such a pop of flavor. You will not go back and not use it, I promise. So you can either use the jar one or make it yourself. Now we also have a little bit of tomato sauce. We have a packet of sazon and a packet of ham flavored concentrate. I know sometimes that is a little difficult to find, but if you do find it, buy 2. So we're gonna add all the ingredients here. Now, when I cook, I don't measure. So I don't have like a tablespoon or half a teaspoon out, but I would suggest doing a tablespoon or half a tablespoon of all the seasoning. And then once it's in, make sure that you actually taste your food. You should always taste your food to make sure that you have enough salt, you have enough black pepper. I'm gonna add more sofrito because that's where all the flavor is. And a little bit of the tomato sauce. And then I'll add the sazon and the ham concentrate. So we're going to mix this up. Make sure you get all those flavors in there. Man, I wish you could smell this because it smells delicious. And again, you can use any type of meat. You can use lamb, or you can also do empanadas in a dessert form, but I'll talk more about that when I show you how to make the dough. So this is cooking. I'm actually gonna add the potatoes now so that they're nice and soft when the meat is ready. I'm going to leave this on a low-medium setting. So once the potatoes are nice and soft, this is ready to be shut off and let cool on top of the stove. I did want to mention that a lot of Latin countries also add olives, green olives, plus the potatoes and diced onions. I like to keep it simple because nowadays a lot of people are picky, and if you're gonna do this for some family and friends, like a huge gathering, I would rather keep it simple and flavorful so people aren't picking out when they're eating it. So you can add green olives if you like, or keep it simple just with some diced potatoes. So I'm gonna walk over this way and we are going to start the dough for our empanadas. So what we have in the bowl, we have 3 cups of all-purpose flour, we have 2 teaspoons of baking powder, some salt, and we have some diced up butter. Now with the butter, some may say that cold butter is best. I prefer room temperature butter. You still get the same end result of it being flaky, and you still have that flavor in there. I do know that traditional pastry chefs use cold butter. I've done it both ways, and I find that this one is more flavorful. Like I mentioned before, with this dough, it doesn't only have to be savory. We can do so much more. We could do sweets. My favorite is the dessert with guava paste and queso fresco. It tastes so good once it's baked, fresh out the oven. So once we have a nice crumble with the butter and the flour, we're going to add about a cup of milk. Now we may end up using all of the milk, we may not, so start off nice and slow so we don't overdo it at first. Now you can use a pastry utensil for this, or you can use gloves. I like using my hands so that I can actually feel the texture of the dough, so I know when it's ready. So we slowly add the milk. You don't want it too wet, you don't want it too dry. This is why I like using my hands to make it. And we'll test it out once the dough comes together. We'll form a ball, flatten it out, and see if it folds nicely. That's when you know it's ready. So this is coming together nicely. I can already see it kind of flaky, which is a good sign. Now with a traditional empanada, a lot of the countries fry it. Anything fried is delicious. So fried empanadas are like the way to go. There's always, the best ones are the food trucks, that street food. You can never go wrong with a fried empanada from a food truck. So I'm going to dust this a little bit and we're gonna roll it out. I'm gonna cut it in half. This is perfect. If you can see, it's not too dry, it's not too mushy, it's workable with your hands. And that's what we're looking for. I'm gonna put this on the side. So the reason why I brought up that traditionally empanadas are fried is because today we're actually going to bake them. Now, you can do whichever way you like. I know that right now the craze is air fryers. So you can air fry an empanada. I don't know if that's the route I'd go, but if that's all you have, I say go for it. You want to air fry them at 400 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes, and then if you need to add more time, then you add more time. With the baking ones, they are a little bit, they are healthier, depending, what you fill them in with. And then with the egg wash, which gives it a nice crust, it's nice in color, and that crunch is still there, even though it's not fried. Now, if you're gonna use these for an appetizer, you wanna go a little bit smaller on the cut. You can also use these for dinner, and you can make them bigger. So that's like the main course. I have a 5-inch circle here that I'm going to use. And we're gonna test it. Look how pretty that is. It's perfect. Just flatten it out a little bit and see it folds. That's gonna be perfect for the filling. So I'm gonna cut these out while the meat is cooling, and then we're gonna come back, I'm gonna fill them in and show you how to work the magic with the fork. Now with this amount of dough, you will probably get about a dozen to 16 empanadas, again, depending on the cutter that you use. So either way, you'll probably have some leftovers. You can use them the next day for breakfast, which is never a bad idea. All right, I'm gonna do this other half that I have here of the dough. You do need a lot of counter space for this, but it's doable in any space. I do mine on my kitchen table. And when I have parties, I usually have these for appetizers because for dinner in our family, my mom is Puerto Rican, my dad's Colombian. We traditionally have arroz con gandules, arroz con habichuelas, that's rice and beans. That's usually what we have for dinner. I think empanadas for dinner was just me in my college days. Or if it's me and my sister, where, you know, we didn't want to be in the kitchen for a couple hours. You make this quick recipe with the dough, any kind of filling, and you're good to go. A lot of the countries use cornmeal instead of flour. I enjoy cornmeal with a Colombian empanada, and they typically use shredded chicken and potatoes. Delicious. Venezuela also uses cornmeal, and that you can find pre-cooked cornmeal at any supermarket. All right, so I have my little discs ready. I'm going to flip them over to fill them. So I'm going to use a tablespoon right in the center. I'll do a few of them at once, that way I can just fold them and have them ready. This one has a little much. I know that one's going to give me some issues, so let's take a little bit of that out. Now I have my fork nearby. We're just going to fold it over, pinch the sides. And my son likes to call these a half moon. I guess it looks like a moon. I'm going to say it does. And if you do get a little crack, just pinch the dough together and you'll be fine. It'll close up. So we're going to take it. I know a lot of people, my mother she loves her fork. A lot of people just fold the sides, kind of like a fancy pastry, like if you're doing the dessert one, that looks really pretty. You just go ahead and just twist it up. So we can do it that way. And that'll give it like a nice rope looking design. Or how I like it, I like to flip it over first and then just crunch the sides with the tip of a fork. I like doing the back first because the design on the top will stick. If you do it first and then the back, the design on the top will disappear. But look how pretty that looks. And then we'll egg wash this. And we'll throw it in the oven at 365 to get a nice color right on top. And we'll bake them for about, I'd say 25 to 30 minutes. These are on the smaller side, so you do want to be careful and not burn them. So 25 to 30 is a good time. Always check them 5 minutes before you think they should be done, just to make sure that they're not burnt. So traditionally also, I know that the empanadas came from Spain and they were introduced to Mexico. Now, there are so many different types of empanadas, like I said before. I mean, I don't even think I've tried them all. Like, that's how many there are. But I do recommend that if you haven't had any, to go ahead and make your own. Definitely follow this recipe step by step, and I guarantee you'll love them. This one opened up just a little bit, so I'm going to close it up. So if that does happen, like it continues to, just pinch it with your fingers. You know, this is also a really good recipe if you have small children at home, because they can really get into the dough, help you out with that. I always say, like, good food brings good conversation and great memories. So I know this is something that I do with my 2 kids. My little one just makes a mess with the flour because he's 2, but the oldest one, he's starting to get a little bit more serious in the kitchen, which I enjoy. And the help is not too bad. All right, so I'm gonna throw these in the oven. I'm gonna put these aside for a second. You could also make the dough ahead of time and put it in the fridge and then use it the next day. So this egg wash, I did add a little bit of water to this. Right on top, around the edges. Get that nice, crispy, crunchy dough. You don't want to add too much egg wash. I always tell my son that you'll get scrambled eggs. I don't know how true that is. But nobody, you can fill them with scrambled eggs. You can have a breakfast empanada, which sounds really good with some sausage. All right, these are going in. Remember, so these are going in at 365 for about 25 to 30 minutes. Check them at 20 minutes just to make sure they're okay. We're gonna throw this in, and with my magic hand, we have some done already for you guys. I'm gonna clear this out just so you guys can see the shine on this, how pretty it looks when it's baked. I'm just gonna plate them for you guys so you guys can see how beautiful they look and shiny. Look how gorgeous that is. Now you can also serve this with some hot sauce. You can serve it with, I like an ají verde, which is a hot green sauce, and that's basically all the jalapenos that your body can contain with a whole bunch of cilantro and some mayonnaise. Put it in a blender and dip it in there or pour it inside, and you will not regret this recipe. I promise you guys, both recipes that you guys saw today are one of the best and my favorite, and I hope that you guys celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with these recipes with your family and friends.